Controlling, the net is empty, he throws it down, and in! He scored a goal! Martin Brodeur!
The hockey gods are Red Wing fans too, it appears.
The Lightning have done it! They have done it! They have gone back to back! Unbelievable.
Welcome back to another episode of Shut Your Five Hole and Listen. I'm Muffy.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we are here to talk to you about the latest hockey news from the NHL, the PWHL, college, minors, whatever kind of hockey topics are out there, we are going to talk about it.
Yes. And it's been a little bit of a minute since we talked to you. This year's gotten off to a weird start, but we're doing it. We're doing the thing.
Yes, we are. We thank you for bearing with us. We had obviously recorded our first episode in between the hurricanes, and then Hurricane Milton just kind of derailed things, and we were a little late getting it out, and we are late to starting up with episode 2, but we're here now, and we're going to make it work, and we're going to get through this hockey season with y'all.
So let's jump right in. So the standings this year are starting to look a little different than they have in past years in the NHL. What are you thinking about them?
Well, I'm sad to see my Red Wings at the bottom of the division. There were high hopes over the past couple of years, and I figured this was kind of going to be our year that we were getting in the groove on things, and it is not.
It could be worse. You could be the Blackhawks, who are very bad, and they were hanging all their hopes and dreams on Connor Bedard, and it's not looking cute for them.
No.
All I can say to you as a Detroit fan right now is,
At least we have the Lions.
yes.
Because that's how I feel.
Yes. Detroit right now, though, reminds me of the Devils, like, a few seasons ago, where, like, I always felt like it was their year, and then it wasn't, and then rebuilding takes longer than you think. But other things that have surprised me, like, I guess we're starting off with, like, who's shitting the bed and why is it surprising? Nashville has been really surprising to me. They spent all that money in the offseason picking up some really big name players, and it is just not working out.
No, I mean, what, they went their like first 7 games or so without winning?
Yeah, it was a long streak, and it doesn't seem to be getting much better for them. I mean, honestly, when San Jose, who was the butt of every joke last year, and is still not doing great, but they do seem to have some bright spots, especially now that there is a young gun out there that seems to be working out well in Macklin Celebrini, who just scored his first OT winner, stopped Shesterkin's goalie goal, which really irked him and made me giggle. It's wild to me what's happening in Nashville.
Yeah. Another one that's kind of surprising to me on the flip side that's doing well is the LA Kings. And I feel like they're sneaky doing well. Like, they were just kind of under the radar last year. They were doing their thing. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're second in the Pacific.
Similarly, the Winnipeg Jets being hot is wild.
Yes. We have to talk about that. They're, at time of recording on Wednesday, November 20th, they are 16-3-0.
I feels like it came out of nowhere, but again, back to rebuilding years, I feel like they've been spending a lot of time on getting the right mix, getting the right players, and as of now, it's really looking good for them, and we'll see what happens and see if they can sustain it, but it does feel like it came out of nowhere.
It does kind of feel that way. And especially when we were talking about last year, the Winnipeg Jets were still doing well last year.
Yes.
No doubts about it. But how we were talking about the arena being only at like 80% capacity, despite them doing well. So I'm curious, is that trend still holding? And are people doing other things in Winnipeg besides going to hockey games? And if so, I'd still like to know what those are.
I really would also like to know, because I cannot think of anything, but I'm not Canadian, so I don't know.
Right. Or is it now that they're having this phenomenal season, are they drawing in the fans again? And are people coming to the games all the time? I would love to know that as well, because I would love to see them continue this streak in front of sold out crowds.
Yeah, and I think it would be a good boost to the franchise. And like you said, it's not like I was talking it like it came out of nowhere, and it's not like they weren't doing well. It's just, I feel like in terms of the Canadian teams, it wasn't like we were not talking about the Winnipeg Jets because of their stacked team and their record. We were talking about them because no one was going to the games. So that's just like, oh, cool. And on the East, things that on the higher end that are surprising me, I am, like, quite frankly, totally shocked that the Tampa Bay Lightning are doing as well as they have been doing.
I am with you.
I swear to God, and maybe it was just because I was so attached to Steven Stamkos, I did not see this coming. They're not playing as well as they have in past years, but I genuinely thought the Lightning would be where the Wings are now, and I guess that is a testament to the organization. And it also makes you wonder, what is it about Tampa that the Stevie Y system is still working for us, and that it's a struggle right now in Detroit, which I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, well, someday we'll be back on top. But yes, Tampa surprises me too, partly because, and it's not even the Steven Stamkos of it all, but partly because there are so many new faces on that team.
And young players.
Exactly.
Like super high draft picks.
Right. So it's interesting to me that they are finding a way to gel together and to win.
That is a testament to John Cooper and just being A-plus coach and the organization for not dumping him when things get tough, because Jim Montgomery cannot say the same thing.
No, why don't we talk about that? The Bruins just fired their coach, Jim Montgomery.
And it's not even like the Bruins are doing that poorly.
They're not. I mean, they are below the Tampa Bay Lightning, who we were not expecting to be where they are.
True, but they're not at the bottom of the pack.
They are not. And Boston has had good seasons.
They have, and he has a winning record for the club. And it's interesting to me that they chose now to fire him, when it seems like a lot of why they fired him had to do with playoff play, and we're not even close to that yet.
No. And I'm sorry, but like, the statement they released just cracked me up, with the GM being like, today I made the very difficult decision with regards to a coaching change. I'm like...
It sounds like ChatGPT wrote it.
Right. He's made a positive impact throughout the Bruins organization, and I'm both grateful and appreciative of the opportunity to work with him. Like, it's the soft breakup. Like, you're great, but...
You're great, but, and this is what my PR team told me to say, because it doesn't make any sense really why we're doing this right now. I don't know. We talk a lot about how the vibes are weird in Toronto. The vibes, I think, are weird in Boston right now. It's just strange. And it started before the season. I mean, I know the last episode when we had recorded, they still had not signed their goaltender. And now Swayman is the goaltender, their number one guy. But like, the vibes with that were weird. Things that got leaked about what the organization said about him. And it's just like, what is going on, Boston?
And I wonder if any of that plays into the firing of the coach and why it is such a bland statement, because like, maybe there was something really shady going on behind the scenes with that, and they need a fall guy, and you're the one we're getting rid of. Like,
it is interesting. And especially when there are other teams that have gone longer with worse records that still kept their coach. Like, I love Marty St. Louis, but I don't know, Montreal. They haven't been good for a long time.
Yeah.
It's weird. Sorry, Marty. I do still like you.
Marty's great. but yeah, there's something.
The team is not.
And it may not even be the coach that has to change in Montreal. It could be something else, but.
It could. I mean, but Montreal is a tough one because they are such a storied franchise. It kind of, and the fans seem relatively nicer than others. When Toronto sucks, you're like, oh, that's fine. Those fans are horrible. But like Montreal, it's just like, I don't know. I know, it's crazy. So we'll keep you posted on if any other coaching changes happen at odd times. So you went on a trip recently. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah. So I think we've talked about it before on the pod that my dad and I have a goal of going to every NHL arena in the country. Well, the 2 countries. And we decided to take a quick little long weekend trip up to St. Louis for a Blues game. And it was very fun. It was Louis, the Blues mascot's birthday. And he had all of his friends there with him. He had the mascot from the St. Louis Cardinals there. They were playing the Washington Capitals. So the Caps mascot came along with the Washington Wizards mascot, who is unhinged, I will say. Like, you put him and Gritty in a room together, don't want to know what's coming out of there.
Oh, God.
And then, speaking of Montreal, Youppi was the last one there, and he was just, there. Just the Canadian friend there to, help monitor all the competitions that were happening between the other mascots. But it was very fun. Their arena is very cool. And I have to say the section we were sitting in was pretty unique in the fact that it was not like the Channel Club like we've been to at Amalie, where it's just like unlimited food and drinks and it's really high end and everything. But it was like a step down from that. It was more stadium type food. You had burgers, hot dogs, popcorn, beer, wine, and like seltzer. But it was that same concept of unlimited food and beverage. And they brought it to you in your seats. We had like a waitress in our section who came up and down the stairs and would bring you food. So that was like the cherry on top of a like fun experience to the game. The first period was great, evenly matched, lots of good action. And then the Blues just totally fell apart in the second and third, and they were creamed 8-1 by the Washington Capitals.
Ooh, well, to their defense, the Caps have also been hot lately. And I think some of it is Ovi really wants to break Gretzky's record.
Yes, he did score 2 goals while we were at that game. And he is currently only 27 goals away from breaking Gretzky's record. But he did leave Monday night's game with a leg injury and is listed day to day. I still think he's going to break the record this season because 27 goals in we have 60 games remaining, like plenty of time.
I definitely think he's going to do it. He's hungry to do it. I feel the way about Ovechkin much in the same way that I felt about Jaromir Jagr. Like, I don't love the personality, but you got to respect the game.
Yeah.
And all I know is I want him to break it. Records are meant to be broken. Gretzky's got a lot of records that are still there. But then I really would like someone else to break it relatively soon.
Here's my thing. Like, I know he's going to break it and it's going to be exciting when he does and everything. But part of me is like, that number for Gretzky would have been so much higher if they played the same number of games.
Yeah.
In today's league that you did back when Gretzky was playing, like that would have been easily 300 or 400 goals higher, just based on sheer volume alone. Not to take any credit away, you still have to score all those goals, and that's still an amazing feat to do. But it's one of those that it's like when you have more games in the season, you have a better chance of doing it.
That is a very good point, and it is an incredible milestone to break. But we still haven't seen a player like Gretzky.
No.
There will be players that break his record, but there's not going to be, at least that I can see, anytime soon one person that's going to break those records. And you're right, it is a different game than when he played. But I mean, you gotta give it to Ovi, and we'll see. He did say once he breaks it, he's going to retire. I kind of don't believe him.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, he's getting up there, but he could be the Yager that then just plays where any team will take him until he's like, all right, I'm done.
Or, you go out on top, because
that's the way I think you do it.
Yeah, because not that I think Sidney Crosby should retire, but the Penguins are not doing great, and he's getting up there in his career, and that's going to kind of blow if you go out without a playoff drought.
Conversation for another day.
But I'm glad your trip to St. Louis was good. That sounds really fun. I want people to bring me my food. Half the fun of a hockey game is the arena and the vibes of the arena. So I love that.
I also got a really cool backpack for the mascot's birthday. I have a nice, really beautiful St. Louis Blues backpack. We can post it on our socials for everyone to see. My souvenir. Oh, I also made my dad buy me a St. Louis Blues hat because it rained on the way over to the arena. And so then my hair was all messed up. And I was like, now I need a hat, Bob.
Kind of like when we were at that Panthers game and it rained and we had to buy hats, but we were,
yes.
The only thing that we could find was in the Old Navy.
Yes, and we bought those nice big beach hats. We looked fashionable at that game.
We truly did.
That is on our Instagram if you want to go check it out.
So, switching leagues, the PWHL is continuing their, they call it a takeover tour. I call it a where's our next franchise going to be tour. And they're playing games in Buffalo, Detroit, Raleigh, St. Louis, Denver, Seattle, Vancouver, Quebec City, and Edmonton. I really wanted Tampa to be on this list, but hey.
I understand. What I would like to point out, though, is Detroit is the only repeat city on this list, which means there's a very good chance we are expanding to Detroit when the PWHL expands.
If Detroit doesn't have a team, I will be shocked. And
candidly, it will give us someone to root for if the Red Wings keep playing like they're playing.
Well, that's what Toronto did, and then the PWHL Toronto also didn't do great in the playoffs. But hey, keep on. Don't stop believing, Muffy. Don't stop believing.
Thank you.
But I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting that the league is expanding. Mm-hmm. We're thinking of expanding this quickly. There's been a lot of conversation about women's sports lately, and it's mainly been around women's basketball. And I think there's a lot of things going on with the PWHL that I really wish more outlets that are covering women's sports would talk about. But I guess also such is the way of the life of a hockey fan.
It is true.
You're the major league that nobody likes to talk about.
It's the redheaded stepchildren of the major leagues.
Yes, but the only league that is truly poised to really do well in a post-broadcast world is the NHL, because they already had to diversify their revenue streams, and the PWHL is following suit. So you know what? Sometimes being the underdog is okay.
Yes. But I think it's exciting to look at some of these cities. They also went a lot further west than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Which I think will help build fandom around the league in general and get more people paying attention to it and hopefully having the media then take notice of it too.
The only city on this list that quite frankly surprised me was Raleigh.
Yeah.
And not because hockey won't do well in North Carolina. Obviously, the Canes are beloved. That's just not the southern city I would have picked, but I guess if you're going... I don't know.
Yeah. No, Raleigh was an interesting choice. And I also wonder if some of it is too just based on arena availability.
True. That is true.
Based, in our knowledge of routing and tours, sometimes you have to go where the venue is.
Also true, and where there is interest. So, but We'll see. We'll keep you posted. I would love to go to one of these games if I could.
Which city would you pick?
What city would I pick?
Well, I guess, yeah, you might want to know what the matchups are.
Yeah, I kind of want to know what the matchups are.
Well, those are available on PWHL.com or thepwhl.com. I should really look up what their URL is, but I know they have the PWHL for a lot of things.
I could just Google it, but you know.
Well, there is that.
And on that note,
why don't we close out period 1?
Yeah, let's close out period 1 and we will be back for period 2 where we teach you the rules. And we're back.
And we're going to stick on the topic of the PWHL.
Yeah, what do you got for us today?
Well, at the end of last season, both end of hockey season and our podcast season, we talked about the new rules going into effect with the NHL for this season. Well, the PWHL just announced their new rules for the 24-25 season. And one of them is, it has a fun name. It's an interesting concept and has a fun name.
They are good at branding their rules, which may sound silly, but I think it is a great way for people to learn the rules, especially the rules that are different from the NHL or international play.
Yep. So let's get into it. It is called the no escape rule. And this is designed for when a team is penalized, the players on the penalized team have to remain on the ice for the face-off. So it is similar to the icing rule that we've talked about in the past, where if you ice the puck, that team has to stay on the ice. Same thing will now happen with a penalty. The team that will have the man advantage will be able to change out players, but the team that was penalized has to stick with those 4 who were remaining on the ice. So you get a little bit more of an advantage on your power play because you've got tired players out there.
You do, but what I found interesting about this is it kind of diminishes the chance of enacting what I think is arguably their best rule, which is the jailbreak rule, which if you score a shorthanded goal, you spring your player in the box free. And if you've got tired players out there and the attacking team is really putting on the pressure, you've got players that could be out there for longer, which is going to lower the chances of you being able to get a shorthanded goal. So while I understand the rule, I think it's great for the power play, it makes me a little sad to see what might happen in terms of jailbreak. But it's a cool rule.
It is. And I think it'll add some strategy, too, of if you win the face-off, do you start clearing those people off the ice? Are you still evenly matched with the ones who are on your opposing team? I think there will be some interesting strategy there, too. In addition, with this rule, if a team intentionally puts extra players out on the ice when the whistle is blown and the play stops, they will receive an additional delay of game penalty for it. This is my favorite part. Trying to confuse the officials when determining who was not on the ice.
I did think that was kind of funny. I totally get it. I could totally see teams trying to do that. But it also makes it sound like the refs are idiots, which is something that, like, if you watch any sport, everyone thinks the refs are dumb. And it's like, you think people are going to they're going to be fooled by the old bait and switch?
But hey, I guess put it in there from the start so people don't try to do it.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. I think it'll be fun. The PWHL games are fun anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're doing some really smart things with their rules to distinguish themselves from the NHL and keep things fast-paced, fast-moving, and fun to watch. I mean,
agreed. Well, they have a couple of other rules too. These are not quite as fun as ones like the no escape rule, but they are to better protect the players and focus on player safety. So now there's a greater emphasis on that. When a player delivers a check to the head, they will now be assessed a major penalty and a game misconduct. Now, there will be a video review when this is called by the PWHL Central Situation Room, which I hope they come up with a better name for that. Like when the NHL says they have to talk to Toronto, you have to talk to the Central Situation Room is just a mouthful. So
what city is it in? Tell me who they're talking to.
That's who they'll be talking to, and that will either confirm the referee's original call, reduce it to a minor penalty if head contact was made accidentally, or take away the penalty completely if it was determined that the opposing player's head was not actually targeted, but looked like it in the fast-paced world of hockey. They're also making it a penalty if you grab a opponent's hair, chin strap, facial protection, or throat protection, and players will receive a major penalty and a game misconduct for that as well.
Which is fair. You should not pull anyone's hair. You should not grab at their throat. You should not headbutt them. You should not... Basically, don't act like my cats when they're hungry.
I agree that they shouldn't be doing that, but a game misconduct feels kind of big punishment for that. Major penalty, no problem. Go ahead, stick them in the box for 5 minutes. But a game misconduct feels like a lot.
That is true. I mean, it probably could have just been like, I would have even accepted a 10-minute misconduct so you can at least come back.
Yeah.
We'll see. And the season starts pretty soon, so...
Yes, we will have the PWHL taking place on November 30th. So definitely something to look forward to at the end of the month.
Yeah, so check your broadcast. I think there's a couple. FanDuel Sports is broadcasting a bunch of them still. I think a bunch of the games are still going to be free on YouTube, so...
And they have gotten a lot of Canadian TV partners. So if you are up in Canada, you will definitely have ways to watch.
Yes.
Well, let's close out period 2 and we'll be right back.
We are back for period 3, the period where anything goes. And today we are talking about sports betting, but not in the way like, is it good? Is it bad? Like, how is it affecting the game? The Athletic did a quick poll of 161 players to get a pulse from them about how the legalization of sports betting is affecting fan interaction with them, and essentially, are they getting harassed more? And the short answer is a third of players polled said they are receiving more harassing messages since sports betting has been made legal in the US and Canada. And not only are people getting like mean to them and sliding into their DMs, they are finding these people on Venmo and asking for money.
Okay, I'm going to put a pin in the Venmo thing because that's crazy. But I am not surprised that the players are saying that they are getting harassed more because of sports betting. Because let's think about it. You go to a sporting event. Many of the men there are consuming 3, 4, 5 beers. So you're drunk, you've just lost money, like you're not going to think rationally, and you're probably going to take it out on the player who is also probably equally upset that they missed the penalty shot, lost the game, let in however many goals. Like,
yeah, one goalie said that he gets harassment almost daily from people who have bet, and he said 75% of these things are because people are mad about something. How did you let in that goalie? How did you do this? You fucking suck. Like all of these crazy things because someone bet on something. But yeah, people are sliding into their Venmo and asking for like...
Are they asking for their money back?
They're basically asking for their money back. And a couple guys have said they've thought it was funny at first and were like giving like $20, but you can't do that all the time. And it's just
no, especially when people start figuring out you're doing it.
Especially when people figure out what you're doing it. And the one of the funniest things to me about this is like, you know, we joke that Toronto fans are tough, and it sounds like we're picking on Toronto, but multiple polls have been done on like who are the worst fans to interact with, and it always comes out as Toronto when you poll other fans. Well, according to this, Toronto is the worst place for this behavior because I guess so many people are betting on the Leafs games that the most harassment when it comes to sports betting in this quick snapshot poll happens in Toronto.
Of course it does. Of course it does. It just confirms everything we already knew.
It just confirms everything we knew. And we will link to this in the show notes. It's a quick read. And some guys, it was saying who have said that they haven't received any more harassment. The article, the reporter suspects it's because they're just not on social media. That harassment overall has gotten so bad, they just removed themselves from social media altogether. So sports betting doesn't matter because they're not there. But the thing that's crazy to me about the Venmo thing is like you have to try really hard to find that person.
Yeah. Well, unless they have a simple Venmo name, because I wouldn't be putting my picture there if I was someone famous. So they're like, oh, yep, that's that person.
I just thought this whole thing was wild. It doesn't surprise me, but it's interesting. It's interesting to see the comments. All the comments in the article are all anonymized, which is, I think, is good, but it's a little scary, honestly.
Yeah. Have you ever bet on any sports?
I have not, but that could just be because my grandfather had a horrible gambling problem and was addicted to it. So it just didn't feel like a good thing in my soul. Have you?
No, I have not. No, I mean, like, I'm in a fantasy football league, but it's very low key. There's no buy-in. There's no pot. It's bragging rights. And I have never actually sat down to be like, let me figure out this FanDuel thing. And I like my money too much. I don't want to lose it.
Same. And I think we'll also link to this article. This is from last year, from 2023. Carl Subban, PK Subban's father, has started a campaign to try to get sports betting ads banned because he doesn't think it's good for the development of not just young players, but young men in general. That, our brains aren't fully developed in making all of those decisions until we're 25, and young men in particular are susceptible to impulsive behavior. So he thinks it just should be gone.
Well, and it's constant with the ads. I mean,
yeah, the ads
you put
is a
on
lot.
Any sporting event. I don't care if it's hockey, football, baseball, basketball, lacrosse, like whatever you put on, you will get at least 2 or 3 sports betting ads at a commercial break.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't have this in our outline, but I was listening to another podcast. I think it was Pod Save the World. So I was listening to a political podcast, and they were talking about how, I think it was Brazil. I'll check this, and if not, they're like, consumer spending is really down because so many people have been betting on sports and losing money that it's like now affecting the national economy. And I'm like, that's insane. That's totally insane.
That is absolutely insane.
So to round out this section, everybody, if you do bet responsibly.
Yes.
And don't ask players in Venmo for your money back.
And only bet what you are able to lose.
Correct. Yeah. Please be careful out there.
Yeah. Well, on that lovely note, why don't we close things out of this episode? You can find us on the social medias. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and we love to hear from our listeners. So please be sure to send us a note if you have anything you want us to cover on the pod.
Yes, and when you're on your favorite podcast platform, please rate, review, and subscribe. It really helps independent podcasts like us find a following. And share with a friend, maybe 2 friends, maybe 3 friends. Maybe go to a hockey game. Don't bet on it, but tell them you know people who can, give you the inside scoop.
Yes, and we will be back in a couple weeks with another episode.
Bye.